Welcome to the Romance Your Tribe podcast with me, Janet Beckers, where every episode is about action, creating an online business you absolutely love, and bringing joy to the work you do. Let's get this party started. Hello and welcome, Janet Beckers here with the very first episode of Romance Your Tribe podcast since forever. It's been like 10 months. I actually decided to close this podcast because it just wasn't working for me. I wasn't getting the results that I wanted for the amount of effort that I was putting into it. So why am I back? Why am I back? I'm going to share with you all the goss, okay? I'm going to take you behind the scenes and share with you how I made the decision to relaunch again and what's going to change. In fact, I'm going to share with you, like total transparency, things that I've changed in my course, things that I've changed in my marketing, things that I've changed in the way that I sell, lots of little changes behind the scene, which may not even be obvious to everybody, but are already making a big difference to my business. So I'm going to share that with you. So there's a bit of a story behind it, but like everything that I like to do, there will be action steps and lessons for you as I go through this. So today I'm going to share with you why I took the time to interview in person 17 random people from my tribe. I had people who were customers, I had people who had been on my email list or part of my greater tribe through social media for years and years and years, look like great ideal clients, but had never bought. Why? Why didn't they buy? And then other people who've really only just discovered me recently. So really random selection of people. Why on earth would I interview them? And what did I ask them? So I'm going to share that with you. And then what did I do to make changes in my business as a result of those interviews? So you're going to know, how to know if you should be doing the same thing or if not. And how often should you do something like this? We'll cover that. You'll know two big questions to make sure that you ask because they really do give interesting insights. And you will also know that if you are going to make changes into your business as a result of what you discover from doing market research like this, what order do you do them? Really, really important. So I'll share with you about what order and what are the three core areas that you need to look at to make sure that if you make changes in one, that it's reflected in the other two areas as well. How's that? Cool. So you'll know at the end if this is something you can do, and I'll also give you a little bit of a challenge on an exceptionally simple action step that you can take this week that can make a really big difference and set you on the path to be able to do something similar. Alrighty, baby, let's get stuck into it. So first of all, why on earth would I take the time to interview people in person? Why didn't I just send out, through email and through social media? Why didn't I send out a survey? I mean, I show my clients how to do a survey, all the steps. In fact, I give them like a template just to copy. Why didn't I just do that? Why don't I recommend that my clients only do that as well? So why did I do that? Well, the thing is, you can just get so much information from a survey, but it's superficial. It's a really great way for you to get a general feel for ideas, but when it really comes down to understanding what drives people, you can't get that through a survey, especially even an anonymous survey. Like, you can't get that to the depth that you want. The amount of depth that you get to really, really understand your ideal customer, you can only get from having conversations. Now, there's a few things that you need to know. You need to know it actually takes quite a bit of time. Okay, even though the interviews may only go for 20 to 30 minutes, you need to set aside per interview 2 hours of your time, because not only you might stay a little bit longer, which happened to me because I've got really nice clients. I've got nice people in my tribe. I just want to to have a bit more of a chat, really. So you have that, but also you've then got to analyze the information. So you've got to take the time to be able to analyze. So think about that. It's a time commitment. Make sure that you can block out time so you can do it well and do them all really close together. So you really start to notice trends. It's a bit hard to do that if you spread it out too far. So just so you know, that's one of your deciding factors is to do with time. But I can tell you what, it is a really important thing to do. Why is it important? Well, glad you asked, baby. Well, there is some changes happening at the moment. I've been seeing this. I've been seeing that there are changes to the way that people respond to marketing. There are changes to the opportunities for us as business owners to market effectively. And these are changes that are really going to be impacting us for quite a while. Now, it's not just me that's noticed this. I've noticed since I decided to go down the track and to do these in-depth interviews to really understand what the changes were and how they were impacting people, is I also noticed that quite a few of my peers and also people who I see as my mentors were doing the same thing. Now, the reason why I could see that there were changes is I've been doing this for over 15 years. I have been online, running my business, building my business, helping hundreds of people every year, thousands of people every year to build their businesses. Over that time, I have seen really significant changes. One of the first ones kind of took me by surprise, creeped up on me and I didn't notice it. After that, I was able to really start to see when things are changing. And it's those that can actually see the changes, accept them, look at what you're doing in your business, change what you're doing, and really be proactive. They are the ones that survive in this online space. I want you to think about people who you may have followed as mentors maybe a few years ago. Are they all still around? That's the thing to ask yourself. So just take my word for it. There are changes happening now. In fact, I'm going to run another podcast. Might be the next one. It'll be within the next few weeks anyway. I'll do another podcast where I'll go over what the changes are, what the signs are, and what the changes and what you need to be doing to be able to make the most of that. So I'll share that with you, okay? But first of all, let me show you the changes I'm making to my own business, okay? So that's why. That is why to do it. And for me, it is worth me blocking out 2 weeks of time where that's really what my number one focus was. So for you, I want you to ask yourself, the insights that you can be getting from taking the time to do this, is it going to be worth you to do it? Have you got that time to do it? I really recommend it. In fact, in my Attract Your Tribe Academy, which is my signature program that I use to get results with my clients, that I review every year or two and change, we have like a core part in there that not only running the surveys, but also step by step how to do this actual process. And very often people will do this when they're first going through the course. They will do that if they're just starting a business from scratch, or if they have an existing business and they're about to implement group offers, if they're about to change and deliver things online. They will go through this process because that's in the steps in the program. But a lot of times people don't go further. And I tell you what, you really need to be doing this about once a year, because even it doesn't matter how well you think you know your clients, things change. And you'll see in some of the results that I saw that I'll share in a moment, things had changed slightly, and really important for me to be able to adapt to those. So that's how you know if this is going to work for you. Really, really worth doing. And before I go over into some of the results, here is a challenge for you. When I talk to you about the idea of you getting on the phone, and in fact, Zoom, it is great to do it on Zoom because you can look them in the eye. You can really see body language as well. How do you feel when it comes to talking to a past client or a current client about, their thoughts on you and your business and their thoughts on them and their dreams? How does that make you feel? Like, are you a bit worried? Are you a bit worried about what they're going to say? What about people who have been hovering around the fringes for quite a while but have never bought? How do you feel about actually talking to them and finding out why? Why didn't you buy? And that's pretty scary, huh? And so that sort of, I really want you to think about, how does that make you feel? I find that a lot of people will avoid doing this. And in fact, I spend quite a bit of time when I'm doing my monthly live hot seats with clients, so they actually get a chance to get live mentoring, is me saying, you've skipped this step, haven't you? I can tell you've skipped this step. Go back and do it. And it's because this is what comes up. So if this is coming up for you, I have a solution, okay? If you're finding yourself going, whoa, I don't know if I really, really want to know what they're going to say, because what if they say that I suck? Like, what if they're going to say that I'm actually not very good at what I do, or they don't trust me, or they thought that I'd be great, but really they've been disappointed? I mean, that could happen. That could absolutely happen, okay? So how does that make you feel? I know for most people, it terrifies them so much that they just don't do it. They probably won't even admit to themselves why, but they're always putting it off. So here is my challenge to you. If you have that, I want you to embrace the feeling of scarce-sighted. Scarce-sighted is when there is something that it's pretty exciting, because you know what? If I get results from this, and either they're great, or I can see things that I can improve and I can do it better that I never even knew I could have done because nobody was telling me. Imagine how awesome that's going to be. I'm going to have the power in my hands. That's the exciting. But scarce-sighted is also the scared part, which is, whoa, what if they hate me? What if I cry? What if they cry? That's the scared part. So my challenge to you is acknowledge that feeling of scarce-sighted, that tension you feel between what could be and what's holding you back, and step into it. You need to be open and humble and just look. This is about your business, okay? It is not just about you. All right. That is our first section about why you should do this and the mindset that you need in order to do it well. Okay, so my question to you is this something that you're thinking, you know what, maybe I need to do this? Well, if you're not quite sure, let's now move over onto the second section, where I'm going to talk to you about some of the results. What did people actually say specifically to 2 questions? Let's go and do that. Now, let's look at results. Well, when I was doing the interviews, I had a series of questions that I walk people through and a process that I follow to make sure that we're staying on track and that I'm getting really good insights into their goals, their frustrations, the path that they go on. Now, through that process, and this is the exact process, by the way, that my Attract Your Tribe Academy clients go through. They get all the questions and how to run the surveys and all of that sort of stuff, all the templates. These are the same questions. And a lot of them, it wasn't new to me, what I was hearing, because I've been doing this for a while. I've been helping people for a long time. And I also get to actually talk to clients, either with my VIPs with the accelerator, or through the Facebook group in my academy, or through the monthly hot seat Q&As that I run. So I'm talking to people all the time. I've got a really good handle on that, but I still learned some really, really interesting things. So I'll tell you the 2 questions that really brought up stuff that were ahas for me. Okay, so one of the questions was, if you had to describe me to somebody else who didn't know me, if somebody said, who is this Janet Beckers anyway? Like, what does she do? And like, why would I go with her anyway over somebody else? Why choose her? What would you say to them? And so the answers were really interesting. Now, a lot of the answers were around my personality. And don't discount this actually, because a lot of times you may go, oh, well, that's just who I am. But it's important for you to own it. So a lot of those were things like being friendly, no bullshit, has a sense of humor, doesn't judge, very sort of strategic thinker. They were great. It was lovely to have that, and it was a reminder for me to make sure that I own that. But that wasn't what was the insight. What really came as an insight were two things that they said. One was, you've been around for a long time, Janet, and I've watched you having to reinvent at certain times because things had changed online. And you got knocked down and then you got back up again and you kept on going. And I really admire that because it shows me that you are in it for the long haul. It shows me that if things don't go well, you know how to get back up, you're resilient. And it also shows me you've seen enough to be able to see that what can be recovered. You've seen enough to know when things are changing and that it's time to pivot. So to me, that was a really interesting one because I don't talk enough about me being around for such a long time. There are a lot of people who were my mentors when I first started out that aren't doing this anymore. One of the tough times came along and they couldn't adapt. They didn't last. I've kept on lasting. And that is for good reason. So for me, that was a reminder to actually talk about that. I don't talk about that very much because I do tend to focus more on you rather than selling myself in that way. So you'll notice I did that at the beginning, didn't I? I reminded you that, I've seen some changes and I could see changes happening. I can see that they're happening now and we need to adapt. So I reminded you of that. So that was one thing for me to remember that. Now, the next one has really made a difference. And that is when I was asked, when they were answering this question, they were saying, well, Janet's different to other people because she shows you how to get results really, really simply without spending a fortune up front. She shows you how to get your results. And she's really good at helping people to be able to use relationships so other people will promote you for free. Like, she's really good at doing that. And that's how I built my business to start with. It's how I've helped a lot of my clients. It's actually the accelerators that I work with, my VIPs, the best and the fastest case studies have come from using these strategies. I've got a very step-by-step way of helping people to be able to start those relationships, even if they're new, even if they have no mailing list, no website, no sales letters. I show them how to build those relationships and build their business up to 5 figures, up to 6 figures, even before they start worrying about their mailing list and their website, Fair income. I can do that. I've got those steps. So that was a really interesting thing for me because one of the things that is really essential when you're coming to your marketing is you need to be able to communicate with people what is your unique way of getting results, because there's certain steps that will go from starting any business from scratch to up to 6 figures. That's the outcome I give people, from scratch up to 6 figures with an online business that gives you time freedom and doing what you love. Now, there's steps that are the same. So how do you do it differently? Well, that is my unique way of getting results. So you need to know from yourself, like, what is the unique way? What sets you apart from everybody else that's out there? Because your clients are looking for that. That was an aha for me because I realized that I did not have that integrated well enough throughout my program. So I'll show you in a moment what I did to change that. So that was the answer to that question. Now, the next question was another interesting one, which is, what stops you from investing in either my program? Yeah, ask that question. What stopped you from buying from me? And also, when you think back to last purchases that you've gone to make, what stopped you? Whether it was from me or from somebody else, like asking them. Like, that is a scary question to ask people, because otherwise they're going to go, well, you're not that good. The insight was really interesting. It wasn't necessarily about the person who was selling, though of course that is important. So if they've made the decision that they trust me, that they trust my processes, that I can get results, the interesting thing is it came down to how they felt about themselves. Now, this may or may not be a surprise to you, but let me go a little bit deeper. Okay, so for people who were starting from scratch, whether their business was starting from scratch and they just really wanted to get their first client, and then how do I then move that on so that I can have a really successful business? Or they may have already had a really successful business offline, but the whole online stuff, like where do you start? How do I do all of this? So for those people, what they really, really were looking for is they needed to know exactly little mini milestones and exactly how long it will take for them to do things. Because once you start building a business, the reality is you don't just, it's not a matter of, hey, get it all done this weekend and you too will be making six figures. Like, bullshit. So once you actually start talking to people who are honest, you realize there's a lot of steps, and that gets really, really overwhelming. So they were all going, I just need to know that what specific outcomes I'm going to get and how long each one will take. Okay, that is really, really good to know. And if they can't see the outcome and know that this is the milestone and the measurable, it's very difficult for them to be able to trust themselves, because they go, it's too big, I can't see it happening. I don't think I've got time. I don't think that I'll stick with it. They're doubting themselves. Now, here is an interesting one. For the people who came on the call, who some of them were my peers, some of them were people who I've learnt from, and some of people who I've helped in the past, and their businesses have grown. So they're already successful. They've already got to that six-figure mark and moving beyond. And they may have been around for a while. Interestingly, they were saying, you know what? I know I can do better. I know I can do better, and I'm frustrated. I know how to do all this stuff. I'm just not getting the results I want. And that stops me from investing in any other program or mentoring because I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that I'm not doing as well as everybody thinks I am. How interesting is that? That you get to the point where you're going, I know I need help, but I'm kind of embarrassed and ashamed. Me actually seeking help and getting help is me having to face the fact that I can't work it out on my own. And I get it. Like, I'm like that all the time. The reality is things get tough. You need somebody on the outside to be able to help you. And so I'm always investing with somebody that's going to help me in the part that I'm struggling with. And whenever I do that, I have to go in and consciously say, you know what? I've chosen this person in this program because I trust them. Now I'm going to trust myself to be a good follower, to be a good student, rather than bringing my ego in of, I know how to do that. I know how to do that. Because if I don't, if I'm not going to be humble and leave my ego at the door, I'm not going to get the results. I know how tough that is. So I talked before about scarce-sighted, about, when there is something that is exciting, but there is that fear that's holding you back. Very often, that fear is your own shame. That fear is your embarrassment and judging yourself. Judging yourself, that's what we do. And so it takes more courage at that point to be able to go, you know what? Yeah, I am going to go and get some help. And I'm just going to leave the ego at the door. That can be a real stepping into scarce-sighted. Okay. And for people who are starting out, that is scary stuff as well, because they feel like an idiot. I've lost track of how many times clever people have said to me, oh, look, I know this is a stupid question. I feel like an idiot. I can't work it out. No, it's just that this is new for you. You're not an idiot. It's just something new. But a lot of times people will just hold themselves back because they don't want to be a fool. Hey, so if you ever find yourself feeling that, just know it's normal, okay? So taking these two things that I've got, when people were talking about what they see the way that I get results for people and about me having the runs on the board, and with what was holding people back, let me have a look now and what did I change in my business so that I could actually improve my business with the feedback that I was getting from these beautiful people who took the time to be honest with me. Okay, let's have a look at that one now. So how do you implement changes into your business that are going to often be little tweaks that can make a huge difference? What is the order that you do them? And what did I do? So that's what I'm going to share with you now in this section. So when it comes to making changes in your business, I like to do things in reverse. Okay, now let me explain that to you because this is a really important thing for you to understand when you are making changes. If you think about the way that the customer works with you, it will be that let's think about it in terms of a romance your tribe model. And romance your tribe, the very first thing you're going to do is flirt, baby. So you put on the push-up bra and a bit of lippy and get out there and flirt. That is your marketing. That is getting out there and letting new people discover you and then get them to really get to know you. That's your social media marketing. That's where most of your time is spent actually in a business, is marketing. Flirting. The next part then is back to my place, baby, and that's your website. Where do people go? Okay, once they want to get to know you a little bit more, and that's where all your opt-ins coming in, your list building, and you having a way of being able to communicate. Now, the next part that you're going to have is where you're going to be, really starting to nurture people. That's where you're starting to court them. And so that's going to be in any kind of follow-up sequences that you have, a way for people to be able to get more and value from them that they can't get from marketing. So that might be what you're delivering through webinars. It may be what you're delivering through your email follow-ups, through lives, through Facebook groups that you may be running. This is that way you do that. Now, the next part then is once they're thinking, oh, kind of like them, I think they're a good match here. Well, then the next part is romance. Now, this is where you actually get things going both ways. So the great opportunities here happen when you do things live so people can communicate with you. It can come from getting people to take part in challenges. It can come from getting people to give you testimonials, give you feedback, take part in anything collaborative. There's lots of fun ways to do that, and I can go into more depth in that in other episodes. So the last one then is commitment. How do people decide that you are the one? And hey, in romance it might be, all right, let's tie the knot and let's talk about kids. You wouldn't be doing that when you're at the flirting stage. So this is like when you're making the sale. And the sale happens and you are delivering value, okay? So if we think about it, the customer journey going in that way, you want to start at the end when you're making any changes in your business. In fact, you start at the end when you are designing your business. And this is what I do, especially when I work with my accelerator clients. We actually spend a half day really going over everything in their business and working out which order we're going to implement changes and what the priorities are. And we always start at the back. So the first one you want to do is you want to look at your offers and how you're delivering them. And I realized that what I needed to do was get clearer milestones. And so I restructured, which wasn't a whole restructure. I implemented within my Attract Your Tribe Academy 6 core milestones where there were 4 modules that go towards every single milestone. And those milestones, I know beforehand, this is the deliverable. This is what you will have at the end. And here is the timeline to achieve that. So this is the timeline that you can do if you're going flat out on it. And this is an estimated timeline if you've got other stuff happening, okay? So that people will be able to go, all right, now I can see that I'm going to get all these little mini wins. And one of the first ones with me is let's get the cash in the door. So that's what I implemented. The other thing I noticed is when I'm working VIP with clients, I really walk them very, very well through my process of developing those strategic relationships that are going to grow your business for you. You only need a few, but they've got to be the right ones and you have to approach it in the right way. This is how I get really fast results with those clients. I didn't have that step by step in my academy. I've really been developing it a lot over the last year or the last couple of years, and the course didn't have that in it. So in every single one of these milestones, I now have a module specific to the step that you do once you've got to that milestone, so that you can be getting those relationships quickly. And then once you've built your business, like, how do we ramp that up big time? So now that is in there. So those changes now allow me to be able to get even better results for my clients and to make that pathway to get results so much clearer for them. So what can you be doing in your programs that can reflect what people are telling you? Now, once you've done that, move back another step. And that step, excuse me, just having a little sip of water there. That next step is going to be about how you sell. How do you let people know what's in your program or in your services that you do, and how do they know if it's right for them? So for me, I realized I needed to have a better sales strategy that was really going to walk them through that. So I created a brand new coaching 90-minute step-by-step workshop. And I have put that there so that it is evergreen. So people don't have to wait for me to go live, so they can be going through that, understand the process, see how it works, and know if it's right for them. Okay, so that was the next thing I did. So what do you do that's in step there? In the academy, we call this the Sell It Baby Sell It step. And so we've got so many beautiful templates and anyway, all these things to make it easy. But you do that second. And then the third one is, okay, once you've got all of that, is your marketing seamlessly attracting people who are going to be interested in that? In, first of all, turning up to your workshop. So is your marketing attracting the tribe of people who are going to be interested in that? And does your marketing message always align with that next step? And so that brings me over to my podcast, because I realized that my podcast was not getting me the results because I was going too broad. I was sharing lots and lots of different things around growing a business online. But what I really needed to do was to help people to be able to get some results using the systems that I coach and teach people, so that it was much more aligned with attracting your tribe, especially using strategic relationships and building tribes. So as part of that, I'm also shining the light a lot more on people who have taken action in my tribe, because I said that people were going, you know what, I feel, they don't trust themselves to actually get the results, or they may feel a bit of an embarrassment about not being successful yet. And so I've already started to doing these recordings. You'll be seeing these at least once a month with different people who have taken action. And it's not a matter of, oh, here's a whole episode where they're going to talk about how awesome Janet's course is. No, what it is let's share, what was the problem that you were solving? What did you do? And it's not about, okay, you've made 6 figures and beyond. For some people, it's going to be, how did you get your first subscriber? Like, what did you do? And what lessons can you share about getting your first subscriber? Or what was the lesson you can share about getting your first sale? Like, what did you have to do that? What were the steps you had to put in place? And what would you do better next time? And what were lessons that you learned? So very actionable steps. And I'm so excited to share these wonderful, wonderful people in just a huge wealth of different industries. What have they done to get results? So you'll be seeing a lot more of that through the podcast. Okay, so my challenge to you now is, what are you going to do? So in summary, we've looked at why would you actually do interviews with people rather than do a survey or just use the knowledge that you already have. We've already looked at that. I've already shared with you that I tell you what, things are changing at the moment. They really are. And I'll go into another podcast. I'll go into more detail what they are, but this is the time to do it. Then we've had a look at two really powerful questions to ask, which is how would somebody describe you? How would they describe you to somebody else and the way that you work? And what stops them from buying? So asking those questions, there's more of course, but they're two really powerful questions. And then the next part is when you're then going to be implementing changes into your business, you don't have to change everything. You need to look in reverse. Start with the way that you get results with people. What do you do? Whether it's a course or in person, can you tweak and improve there? Then work back. The next step is how do you sell? How do people know that they're a good match with what you've got? And then the next part is how do you market? How do people know about you and discover that you're the person that can help them with this? So that's the steps that you need to take. So here is an action step for you, baby. I mentioned at the beginning that a lot of people feel quite scared about doing this process because there is a very good chance that you're going to have a real sense of rejection when you ask people to give feedback. So to get you over that and to help you step into that feeling of scarce-sighted, my challenge to you this week is to do one interview. It could be with your favorite client. It could be with your least favorite client. It could be with somebody that you know's been looking at you for a while and has a relationship. They're part of your tribe and hasn't bought. It could be somebody that's totally new. It could be, if you're starting out from scratch, it could be, this person would be awesome as a client. I'm going to pick their brain. Just one. That's all I'm asking. Just one. And then come and share with me. How did it feel? What were the results? Because honestly, once you've done one, it's so much easier for you to commit to the process and do it properly. So that's my challenge to you. Now, I would love to hear from you, your ahas from today, and what action you were going to take. And if you have taken some action, which I'd love to hear, what was the result? Okay, what did it feel like or what happened? So do that. Now, I really would love it if you could come and tag me on Instagram especially. I'm going to start using Instagram a bit more. And so tag me. It's Janet Beckers. Actually, it's just Janet Beckers everywhere online. So at Janet Beckers, just share a story. Come over and comment here on wherever you're finding that I'm talking about the podcast. Come over and, if you take an image of what you're doing, anything like that, tag me in it and I will share it out. I'll retweet those and retweet it here on Instagram. You know what I'm trying to say. I'll share it in my stories. And come and share with me. I would really, really love to hear that. And if you have a friend in business that you know needs to hear this, please pass it on, because you know what? Every little tiny thing is going to help them to just make the difference that they want to make in their business. So share it with, if you've got a friend that needs to hear this. Now go out, make a difference, have fun, and I shall see you next week. Bye. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I loved hanging out with you, so let's do this again. The best way to do that is to subscribe right now to Romance Your Tribe podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you'd like to dive in deeper to more episodes, great resources, and really in-depth free training, come over and join me at romanceyourtribe.com. Bye.